Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson, but I'm be, getting into this video. But I want to say this too for you, you Edomites, so-called white people. I'm not talking about the so-called, if you look like a so-called white person, but you're Israelite. I'm talking about a true Edomite by ethnicity. Let me say this to you now. And then, our people too as well. So it was not a concern when you was, you had your six figures rolling in, your big King Ranch trucks, your big Dodge Rams, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't an issue. You had your, you know, 4 or 5 bedroom homes, you know what I'm saying? You was living a good life and you was telling our people to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. It wasn't an issue, right? So it's a heavy time right now, just in prophecy, you know what I'm saying? Esau, Edom kingdom is falling right before our eyes. And it reminds me of that scripture, like to see the fall of our enemies. We're actually seeing that happen. Because this bitch is done. It's just a matter of time. It's the decay. This place is decaying spiritually and decaying in actual real time. Most of the people are completely demented and bugged out. People don't know what's going on. There's confusion. This is the place of confusion. But what was all this um, crying out in anger at when we was getting oppressed? And we still is getting oppressed. Ain't nothing changed. But a lot of you so-called white people are getting afflicted. Now you want to join, you want to, complain and bitch and, you know what I'm saying, kick and scream, so to speak. What was all this concern when the so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans was getting oppressed? And look what's going on with the so-called Latin tribes. The hell with them too. Because if they, a lot of, my Zakba went into a lesson on them evil, you know what I'm saying, the cart, where he was doing a lesson with his Jake woman, brought up that brought that up, but the so-called Latin tribes, the Northern Kingdom is wicked too, along with the Southern Kingdom, right? Because the cartels and the Santeria, the fucking Grim Reaper, all the death and destruction, the cartels and the people that have joined on to these cartels in the Latin so-called American countries, they gonna get judged too, and that's some evil shit they do. And the Latin tribes, the so-called, the Northern Kingdom, do more idolatry. They pray to them candles. They pray to them statues. They pray to them pictures of, as they know, as so-called Jesus. The Latin tribes wicked too. That would be the Northern Kingdom. And it's heavy because the Northern Kingdom, they didn't have not one righteous king, right? That's the so-called Northern Kingdom, so-called Mexicans, so-called Brazilian. We see your fucking white Jesus that you erected there, for the so-called Brazilians. I forget what tribe that is, but we see all the wickedness. Y'all gonna pay too. It ain't just the Southern Kingdom. So let me get into this lesson, and like I said, I'm kind of all over the place, but I want to, warm you up to this video because Edomites, you're gonna pay double. All this shit you've done, right? All the shit you talk, right? You say we was nobody. A lot of you Edomites, that's how you feel inside inwardly. You the devil.
What are we even celebrating this coming weekend? Like, seriously, what is there to celebrate? Freedom? From what? Most of us.
And I would say this: at least this motherfucker got a mind to think. But you Jakes, you the worst. You the worst with this because you gonna get caught up in all this barbecue, fireworks, dumb shit, and your ancestors were still in slavery. And when you're told about this, you just don't care because a lot of you Jakes are stupid. You're too stupid to think for your own self. Yeah, I'm getting down on this lesson. Very irritated, you know what I'm saying, at you Jakes.
Us are chained to a job or a paycheck, or a bill that's already late. I mean, today's the first. Let's not forget rent just hit. Utilities are due. Your bank account's probably already sweating. Half the country's broke and depressed. The other half's pretending everything's fine. And everybody's either burnt out or beefing with each other on the internet.
Let me say this too. One came out red all over. This is the identifier of the Edomites. And he, this whole white narrative that so-called white people have been able to get away with, that shit is coming to an end. You're gonna start going by your biblical ethnicity. Edomites. We not playing this game, and for you Jakes that's too slow to understand, you're gonna get your ass left behind. Right? We coming to a very serious time that we've been telling you about. All hell is gonna break loose.
I mean, what's so united about this country in 2025? Out here in the Houston area, you can't even use a public bathroom without begging for a key like you're on probation. Because poverty's gotten so bad, they treat everyone like a suspect. Well, this isn't freedom. This is survival with rules and suspicion.
And that's how we've been living ever since our inception, and ever since we came out of our mother's womb. That's how the so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans been living. This has been a nightmare. Like I make joke of it, but to kind of give a chuckle to you brothers through the spirit. Nightmare in Babylon. This is exactly what this is. And there's no amount of so-called money, and the money not real. We want real money. We want gold and silver, land and resources. That's real money. We don't want this fucking monopoly money that's worthless. It's gonna be worthless pretty soon. And the only reason why a lot of you Jakes, you support this system, so quote unquote, is because your ignorance, right?
Yeah, billionaires fly into space while regular people can't even wash their hands without clearance. The rich are hoarding, the poor are surviving, and the government's too busy feeding corporations to care about anybody else. People are working 60 hours a week just to barely afford the base, and they'll still tell you to work harder. Meanwhile, you're about to go celebrate this country with fireworks and grill meat and stuff, and spending money you don't have just to feel free for 24 hours. And then it's right back to the grind on Monday. Same stress.
And that's bad when the devil, he could be a Jake, I don't know. I'm just going off, whatever, because typically this is Edomite, but we don't know. But let me say this. Let me clarify something to you Jakes that don't understand. You've been culturally assimilated to somebody else's culture. You didn't set none of this system up. Why the fuck are you following this? Right? You gotta, if you work in corporate America or whatever, you got a day off. You need to really be, locked into the scriptures, get you some study done. And this is just a normal day to us. We don't celebrate this because this is, I'm actually going to do a lesson, on this. You know what I'm saying? I've done lessons in the past, but this shit is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And the average Edomite is feeling the crunch. Well, we've been feeling for over 400 years. This ain't nothing new for us. So they seeing how it is to survive, barely make it. And, you got some brothers that's doing okay, doing relatively well for themselves, but typically that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these everyday Joe Smo, six-pack clan member, beer belly fucking Edomites are feeling the crunch. And what they're going to do, they're going to turn that hatred back on you, Jake. Jake is simple. I see why, the Most High Yahweh and the son Yahweh Shah reference to the nation of Israel as being sheep. They sheep, man.
Same paycheck. Same damn trap. It's all a cycle. Spend. Obey. Distract. Repeat. This isn't patriotism. It's just program loyalty to a system that doesn't serve you.
Yeah, so that's what we've been saying. But when we were saying that, we complaining. We a hate group. This hate speech. You Edomites gonna have to. You gonna taste this just the beginning for y'all. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna feel this shit on a whole nother level. In the kingdom, it's gonna be. You think this something right here? It's gonna be like 20 times more multiplied. We're gonna put so much hell on you. You're gonna wish to unalive yourself, but it's not gonna happen. Give me 1 second. And it's going into Jacob's trouble. You know what I'm saying? That'll be a whole nother lesson. But I didn't really have nothing too crazy planned. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna hit a few precepts, get into this definition, and like I said, I didn't want to make this too long. Jeremiah 3:1, and you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans, got to wake the fuck up out of this spell you under this deep enchantment. This place got you in a docile frame of mind. That's the problem. Jake don't think about nothing. They go with the flow. If it's fireworks and barbecue and some bullshit, Jake gonna be there, because all they want to do is have fun. They don't want to take. They don't like rules and restrictions. They don't like no fucking rules and restrictions. That's why most Jake buck up against the truth, especially the women. They don't like order. Jeremiah 3:1. Then say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot. That's you Israelites. You play a lot of games. You want to, you want to serve the J guy. That's who in your mind. But you want to talk all, with many lovers. Yet return again to me, said Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah. So our people have played the harlots, man. Whatever is the most attractive thing to them, the most shiny object, that's what Jake gonna get into. No, they don't have no restrictions, no order, no discipline. Jake all over the fucking place. And that's why this place is known as confusion. Because you see 10 of you Babylonians in the room, you so-called Americans, you're gonna have 10 different philosophy. And it's gonna all be based in confusion. So we went the right path. We went the steady path. And Jake is sheep. You know what I'm saying? Down to the little ninja, you know what I'm saying? Cool cup kids selling, you know what I'm saying? Down to the oldest Jake in his society. They gullible sheep. Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent. This Yahweh Shah, reading and comprehension is an art. A lot of Jakes can't read it. A lot of you Americans are below average on comprehension. I am not sent, but unto the lost. Words are important. You got to know what words properly mean. So he's saying, I'm not sent, this Yahweh Shah, saying he sent not on, but to the house of Israel, the lost sheep. Lost sheep. And why did Yahweh Shah say lost sheep? Everything means something. Let's go here. And this was to be taken in a metaphoric sense, but let me show you something. It says a lost sheep is in danger because it's vulnerable to predators. And this would be symbolic towards these different so-called pastors, these so-called religious advisors. Pick your poison. Goddamn Dr. Umar, you go down your list. Joyce Myers, because the ninja will go into some madness, man. It says the elements and injury. So this is our reflecting on this world. This world can easily manipulate and turn and toss them to believe if it sounds good to Jake, especially women. It lacks the ability to find its way back to the flock. It says, without the protection and guidance of the shepherd and the flock, a lost sheep is an easy target. And you, Jake's an easy target. That's why you've been succumbed to all these different falls. And it ain't necessarily got to be Christianity. It can be the black unconscious community. It can be Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism. You can just think, like Elder went into with that bug-eyed Monique. Said she just believe in the universe. Completely mad and drunken in your mind. Let's go here. What is cultural assimilation? Like I said, I'm gonna really get more to this. Give me 1 second, Salakia. 1 second. All right, let me get into this and I'm gonna close it out. It says cultural assimilation, because you Jakes just it says is the process where individuals or groups adapt the cultural norms, the cultural values, and behaviors of a dominant culture. What does this mean in layman's terms? Our people copy the so-called white culture, which are Edomites. That's why they celebrate 4th of July, Thanksgiving. Normally, and a lot of Jakes know what this stuff means, but they don't care. That's how brainwashed they is. Christmas, Valentine's Day, your Mother's Day, Father's Day, all this is not a part of our culture. You've been assimilated on every little detail to this Edomite culture. The style of Christianity, I mean, it goes down to the smallest to the biggest of matters. You've been assimilated. You've lost your way, completely gone, drunken in the mind, and that's why people are right now. That's why this only about the elect waking up. All Israel ain't gonna get it. Hopefully this lesson has been edifying. Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak, Kodash, Shalom.